I discussed last Tuesday about Trevor Lawrence and how well the Jaguars have played pretty much under the radar this season. And they had a big matchup against the Broncos. 4 o'clock kickoff. Wasn't one of the main games. I think the Lions and the Steelers was the main game. But I said if the Jaguars can go into Denver and pick up a win, this team's going to be legit. And that's what happened. The Jaguars passed the litmus test. You went on the road from Florida, beautiful weather in Florida, 80 degrees. I was just there, so I know what the weather was like. Then you go to Mile High, that elevation, not great weather. I imagine it was cold. You go on the road, best defense in the league, arguably. Number 1 team in the AFC. You go there and pick up a win. And you win playing very, very well across the table. That is your signature win of the season. And that is what the Jacksonville Jaguars did. So we got to put some respect on Jacksonville Jaguars now, and that they can be contenders for the Super Bowl. Now I'll tell you why. Parker Washington. I've seen this guy play across the season. I always question why the Jaguars went out and got a guy like Jakobi Meyers. I think Jakobi Meyers is a good player, but I don't think he's worth spending your draft capital on just because of how deep and how I won't say easy, but it's been pretty easy for front offices to find good wide receivers across the draft these last couple of years. It's like one key position. Like no matter if you draft one in the first round, you're like 90% able to know or not if he's going to be a stud. And then in the second, third, fourth round, you can find guys who are probably like 70% chances to be studs. So I was really questioning that move because of this guy in Parker Washington. I've seen him across Brian Thomas this season. Brian Thomas Jr., he's been hurt a couple games. So Parker Washington has took over the role a little bit in regards to the passing game because Brenton Strange was hurt as well. And I saw a couple games of Parker Washington. I think this dude is a underrated player. He's a stud. And against the Broncos, he made some plays. That wide receiver tandem of Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr., not to mention Jakobi Meyers, who seemed to fill in a role in this offense, and he signed a contract extension last week, so he's going to be there for the foreseeable future. So they have a core of wide receivers that Liam Coen has put together. And that guy, Parker Washington, he's a stud. Like, he's making plays everywhere. Like, he's a really underrated great player. And Trevor Lawrence, under Liam Coen, who I just discussed has brought together a pretty good wide receiver and receiving tandem, Trevor Lawrence seems to have opened up a new leaf. Trevor Lawrence has 14 touchdowns in the last 4 games. 0 interceptions. What has been the indictment against Trevor Lawrence his whole career so far? He cannot take care of the football. He makes boneheaded plays sometimes. He throws interceptions. At one point, the last couple of years, he's been the perennial player that has fumbled the football. I was sitting there trying to find a word to use. Couldn't think of it. But he has been the player associated with fumbling the football the most at the quarterback position, throwing interceptions, and he's just not taking care of the football. We saw some of that early on this season, but it seems like for some reason, Liam Coen, the last couple of weeks coming off the bye, him and Trevor Lawrence have seemed to find a marriage. And I talked about it last week. I said that, is it pretty ironic that Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, they started at this all-time high, and over the span of the last half season, Baker Mayfield hasn't played that well. It's because they don't have Dave Canales and Liam Coen at the offensive coordinator position. Contrary to what's the Jaguars, Doug Peterson, this guy won a Super Bowl. But for some reason, he really couldn't take Trevor Lawrence to the next level. Granted, he took Trevor Lawrence to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. But it has been kind of the statement that the Jaguars are underachieved just a little bit, and you move on from Doug Peterson, and you get Liam Coen, a guy who, let's be honest, had Baker Mayfield playing more than what he was worth. I think Baker right now is making $20-30 million. And the next quarterback, the highest paid quarterback right now is Dak at $60 million. He had Baker Mayfield playing like a $60 million quarterback. So you picked up Liam Coen as your head coach. The Jaguars did. And ever since the bye week, Trevor Lawrence is out here looking like what Baker Mayfield was last season. And a lot of people, and I agree to them to a bit, we were kind of pumping the brakes because it was like, look at the competition the Jaguars have played the last couple weeks. Trevor Lawrence made those mistakes against the Texans. a game that wish they choked away. But, they played the Jets, like a couple easy teams. But I was really saying, okay, let's see if Trevor can do it against the Broncos, a really comparable team, be successful on the road. Let's see if he can do it. And he did it. Trevor Lawrence played well. Really, really well. He got out of the pocket, made some throws, and he just looked like the quarterback that people, he looked like the quarterback, and he has been playing like the quarterback that people expected him to be. Let's give a little history lesson. I've beaten a dead horse here, but let's give a history lesson here. Talking about a guy who didn't lose a game in high school, barely lost at Clemson. He won a national championship, and in the same case like Joe Burrow, this guy was drafted thinking he was going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. Now, Joe Burrow has lived up to that expectation, but Trevor Lawrence hasn't. But if this is the prime opportunity, the Jacksonville Jaguars are peaking at the right time. If you look across the AFC, we're about to be in the playoffs without Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and possibly at the moment, which I still think is going to be the case because I don't see the Ravens getting to the playoffs, Lamar Jackson. So if you look across the AFC playoff landscape, right now, your quarterbacks are Bo Nix, who Trevor Lawrence just beat, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, maybe CJ Stroud if they make the playoffs. Am I missing any teams? AFC West. I'm thinking of this from Aaron Rodgers if the Steelers get in, an old Aaron Rodgers team. I think I'm missing one more team. But you get the whole point here. The Jaguars have a prime opportunity in this AFC because the AFC has been slightly underwhelming in comparison to the NFC. Like, NFC's got a multitude of teams that you think can get to the Super Bowl. Like, we look across the AFC, it's kind of like you just roll the dice and just, okay, maybe this team can get it. So this is the Jaguars are peaking at the right time. They beat the best team, and you can contend. They have all the key pieces. They have a great defense. The defense has the number one rushing defense in the league, have pretty good corners, and they're playing like this without their number one overall, their number first round pick, number 4 overall pick, who they traded up for and gave up a ton of capital. I talked about it last week. Like, they might regret trading up and getting that guy just a teeny bit because you're playing this well without him. You kind of could have got a player to further solidify this role, and I think Travis Hunter could become a more primary player. But if you think about the Jaguars, the quarterback has been the question mark all season. Like, they have the talent to compete. Brenton Strange, you move on from Evan Ingram, and this guy, Brenton Strange, he's like, honestly, one of the best tight ends in the league, really, the way he's been playing. Brian Thomas, he's not played well. He's got some drops, but you've been able to lean on a guy like Parker Washington. You picked up Jacoby Myers. And then Trevor Etienne, he's been a pretty much sleeper at the running back position, but he's played pretty well this season as well. And you trade away Bigsby. He was good. And then you got this guy, Tutu. He's pretty good backup running back as well. So they have the pieces. And the quarterback has been the question mark. And the quarterback is playing well. So the sky is the limit for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Liam Coen deserves a ton of credit. Even if the Jaguars don't make a deep playoff push, I think Liam Coen is in consideration for Coach of the Year. And I think the Jaguars is in a great spot. And if they don't win a playoff game, it's a successful season. I didn't really think the Jaguars under Liam Coen and with the team they had, they're playing very well and they're overachieving. So we got to give the Jaguars credit. Now, when it pertains to the Broncos, just real quick on them, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Bo Nix did play well in the second half. Offensively, they played good in the first half. They went lackluster in the second half. Defensively, really shocking how bad they played on the back end. They were able to get pressure on Trevor Lawrence, but for some reason, they had a lot of breakdowns in coverage on the back end defensively. But I think they'll be fine. You're on an 11-game win streak, winning a lot of games. Like, you're due to lose. They're still in control for the number 1 overall seed. They control their own destiny. I think they'll be fine. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, I told them I hypothesized this last week, and I foreshadowed it. I'm like, this team can win this game. And they can put themselves in a very interesting conversation in the AFC. And they went on the road at Mile High and done that on Sunday.